Ajay Pajagrena, Pajare, Pagare, Ajay Pagare.
He's not on Zoom.
Yes, I think. Yeah, guys. So I already told you, right? Myself, Hari. So I'm a DevOps, AWS DevOps solution architect, and now I'm working as a senior DevOps engineer in some of the company. So I have a 10+ years of experience as a real time and trainer. So in this course, so what we will discuss? So we will discuss Linux and we will discuss on AWS plus DevOps. I think some of the guys are know, right? What is AWS, what is DevOps, and what is Linux. So does anyone knows the Linux, AWS, and DevOps?
Yeah, my background is basically from Windows, but I know what is Linux. Similarly, the way the task we perform in from Intel, similarly, it's also a Linux server and client model.
Yes.
And Azure, AWS is something like cloud service provider. So
Mm-hmm.
like Azure from Microsoft, GCP from Google. So
Yes,
similarly, we
yes.
have AWS, and now this is a leading one in the market.
Yeah,
And DevOps is something we can say the best practice or a culture or methodology
yes.
that
So DevOps is not a tool. DevOps is a methodology or a
yeah,
culture.
yeah,
So we can integrate the tools and we can automate the process.
yeah, exactly.
So what process we can automate?
What process automate, like suppose that DevOps is like development plus operations. So it's used to fill the gap between, because sometime development team has develop some software or code, and
Yes,
they want to deploy on the server,
yes.
and the server team build while deploying, they're facing some issue, challenges, some requirement, so they
Mm-hmm.
all need to coordinate. So while in the IT, they while they're facing any issue, while they're facing issue deploying the application, so they all need to coordinate. So there is always challenges to like organize the meeting, bridge call, and this to fix. And sometimes they like create a dependency, it should be from your side, and blaming and resolve
Mm-hmm.
to fill the gap. So this is the DevOps basically. So I don't have that much so I have just basic to mitigate those gaps. DevOps comes in picture, and through the some tools we can fill those gaps
Yeah.
and like develop the apps and software quickly as possible.
Very good, Ajay. Very good, Ajay. So, in end of the class, I think you most probably know so why DevOps. Okay.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will discuss in this something like in this course. I already told you Linux plus AWS plus DevOps. So why DevOps? So what is the DevOps? Why DevOps comes into the picture? Something like 5 years back, there is no DevOps guys, right? So the development team and operations team are there, work together and so deploy the application. So it will be a waterfall model. So the agile model is comes into the picture. So the agile model is something like it's a automation, something like the concept of agile model is something like we can achieve our deployments or integrations or builds. So through iterations and through automations. So in this course, DevOps course, what we will discuss, something like a modules like DevOps overview, so version control using Git and GitHub and Bitbucket. So the third module is continuous integration using Jenkins. So container for the fourth one is containerization using Docker, Kubernetes installation. So what is Kubernetes and why Kubernetes? So where we are using the Kubernetes. And the seventh module is Ansible, eighth module is Puppet. The ninth module is continuous monitoring using Nagios. So these are the These are the some of the tools in the, so we will discuss in the DevOps. We'll discuss in the DevOps. So you guys know, right? Something like so I will tell you the exact so where the DevOps tools are using. So I will show you. Something like I'm hitting the www something like facebook.com. So I'm hitting the Facebook in the my web server, web browser, right? So this is the web browser, Chrome web browser. I'm something like I'm accessing the Facebook from web browser. But so this is the web page. Facebook is a application or a website, right? So website or website. So how it comes? So where it comes? Does anyone knows? So this is the facebook.com. So in the browser, I searched www.facebook.com, but it opened the index page of the Facebook, the application of the index page of the Facebook. So the where it comes, where it comes. So these are the developers. So these are the developers developing the code, something like a Java developer, Python developer, .NET developer. So what they are doing? So they are doing the programs. They're writing the programs and push it to some other place. So that is a repository. So that is a repository. So they develop the code in their laptop and they push it to some other places. That is nothing but a repository. So that is nothing but a repository. So repository. These guys are push that code into some other place. That is nothing but a repository. So the repository. So the version control system or source code management tool. Source code management tool is something like a Git. Git is the version control system. It is the version control system. Some of the guys are, so developers are developing the code. So developers are developing the code, and they can the server. Guys, please mute to speak. Guys, please mute to speak.
Hari, is it possible to just mute everyone so that
Sorry.
is it possible just mute everyone? I mean,
Yes. Sanjay, please mute. Ankita, please mute. Guys, now you're able to hear, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So developer the code. So developer developing the code, and so something like how they are developing something like, for example, so they are developing the code, something like a language, something like a Java. So where we can deploy that, code. So in the server, So these are the operations team. So Linux servers managing the Linux team, and Windows server managing the Windows server. For example, our application is deploying into the CentOS, something like this is a Linux server. This is the Linux server. Our application is deploying on the Linux machine. So Linux machines, something like, for example, it is a AWS or it is a physical data center, whatever it may be. The server is in either data center or AWS. So our developers developing the code and push it to something like a repository, that is a Git repository. So that code is something like a program, that developers write the programs and push it to the Git repository. So the code is something like a .java. But so something like in the server we install the CentOS 7 and we install the Java. So how we can write the code? So with the help of Java. And what is the web server? Web server is Tomcat. So where we can see the pages in the web browser, right? In the web browser. In the web browser. So where we can deploy. So where we can see our application, in the web browser. So where it comes, something like so in the so our code writes from the Java, and so we deploy it on the server. We deploy it on the web server. So that is the reason. So if you click something like www.facebook.com, so it will get from the server. Our application or a web page gets from the web server. Something like this is facebookindex.com. So once we log into that server, again it goes to the web server, and you will get the another page, something like a profile page. So how we can get something like via a protocol is HTTPS. HTTPS means hypertext transfer protocol. I already show you, right? So HTTPS. How we can get the web pages? By using so how we can get our web pages? So how we can get in? So in the web server, the code will be there in the web server. So if you hit www.facebook.com, so it will comes into the web server, and you will get the page, whatever you link, something like we can upload an image, or something like we can share sharing or something. How we can get something like, so a developer writing the code, Java code, but we need to convert into, so Tomcat web server recognizes only a Tomcat web servers recognizes only jar or .var.
Jar and var.
Yes. So here the code is in .java, right? .java. We need to convert. So we need to convert from .java to .var or .jar. How we can convert? So we have a something like we have a build tools are there. Something like a build tools. So Maven is the build tool. So Maven is the build tool to convert from Java to .var or .jar.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a question here. Like
Yeah.
here our Java code is converted into the .var and .jar file, right?
Yes.
What if we have a Python code, then which server will be responsible instead of Tomcat?
Yeah. So something like so for example, so if it is a IIS Windows server, something like our web service is IIS. So the code is something like a .NET, right? So .NET code recognizes only IIS Windows, something like a Python .py. So .py, right? So .py, something like a Spark a web server is there. Spark. So something like a Spark web server for Spark web server for Python. So whatever the web server we install, something like a Tomcat or a Apache or a Nginx or a JBoss. So whatever the code we something like a .NET. Guys,
అది రాసుకోవడానికి ఈ కాలు ఫ్రీగా ఉంది.
So to build a Python code, we will use which build tool?
yeah. So PY Builder is the powerful software build tool for the Python programming language. The same like as a so for example, I am telling for Tomcat we can use Maven is the build tool. So for example, in Python, PY Builder is the build tool. Okay. So we can use that Maven build tool and we can convert from Java to var. So Tomcat knows only .var and .jar. Once we convert the .var and .jar, we can deploy it on the server. Something like Facebook.var. So once we hit the facebook.com, it will comes from here, and so we can get the web pages. So this is all under manual process. So developers write that code and build the var files. So developers write the code and build the var files, and they will give it to operations team. Who are the operations team? Something like developer knows how to write the program. Developer knows how to admin the servers.
Can you come again?
So developer knows how to write the code, but developers doesn't know how to admin, how to manage the server, right? Who manages the server?
DevOps engineer.
No,
Operations
team. Operations team. If it is a Windows server, so if it is a Linux server, so Linux admin is the Linux admin to operate the Linux servers. So if it is a Windows servers, so Windows admin operate the Windows servers, right? So developers doesn't have access to the production servers. Developers doesn't have the access to that servers. Say Linux is having the access to that server. So how we can deploy the .facebook.var file? Something like a developer creating a RTZ. A developer creating a RTZ. RTZ means release turnover guide. How to deploy a var file into a server. So in the RTZ, something like the change task, everything will be written on the document. So something like operation team, something like for example a Linux engineer. So Linux engineer log into the server and copy that .var file, and something like we need to stop and start the web server. So these all are the manual process. So something like
Yeah.
so developer.
Okay. May I ask a question?
Sorry.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
This might be a lame question, but I have a doubt here.
Yeah.
See, you said developer develops the code and operation team handles this, right? So DevOps engineer doesn't fall in operation team.
Yeah. So developers. So that's the reason. So already something like Aniket or who's. So there is a gap between developers and operations team. How we can achieve that one, right? So developer doesn't have access to the Linux servers, and he doesn't know how to deploy the application. Who is deploying the application? So because of Linux servers, Linux, how we can operate the Linux. So developer doesn't know. Who knows? A Linux engineer or a Windows engineer knows how to operate a server, how to admin a server, right? So developers only develop the code and build the code. So build the code, then they will give it to the operations team. Operations team deploying the application. So the DevOps model is something like CI/CD. CI/CD. CI/CD means continuous integration and continuous deployment. So here, so there is no continuous integration and continuous deployment. Here, the manual process, integration. So integration means developing the code and building the var files is nothing but a integration. So who will deploy? So Linux engineer deploy the So Linux engineer deploy the application, something like a integration and deploy. In DevOps, so the main concept is CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous. But here, so everything will be manual. Everything will be manual process. So a developer's team develop the code and build the var files and push it to the engineers. Operations team deploy the code. Right, this is the manual process and this is the waterfall model. This is waterfall model. Something like in waterfall model. So if you want to deploy application, it will take around 2 to 3 months or 2 through 6 months. 6 months. So what is the disadvantage? If you deploy the application, after deploying the application, so we have a issue, we have a bug. So again, same, it will goes to the developer and developer slowly recognize what is the bug, how we can achieve something like same way. So again, it will take 2 to 3 months to rectify the problem. So I want something like some of the guys are started a agile process, agile model, agile methodology. In the agile methodology, something like it will be a DevOps comes into the picture. DevOps comes into the picture. Now you guys understand, right, how the Facebook applications is, how the Facebook is working, something like how we can get the application web pages, where we can get the web pages. So from web server, we can get the web pages. So we can get the web pages through HTTPs. So before agile model, a waterfall model is there. So waterfall model is there, something like in the waterfall model, everything will be manual. Everything will be manual. After agile model, everything will be so something like a automation. So what is agile? What is DevOps? So something like in a agile model, something in agile waterfall model. So we something like I have a thought like so WhatsApp. So I have a thought something like before WhatsApp. So how we can how we can send the messages through manual, right? Something like, for example, a Vodafone or something like Airtel, we need to send from the mobile, and so we don't know it will received or not. We don't know. So until unless we will get the reply from that recipient, right? So I have a thought like I want to create one app for messaging. So application for messaging. So over the internet, in that thought, something like how we can achieve. So in the SDLC model, you guys, right? SDLC, software development lifecycle. I want to create a app or application or a website for a messages. So my website name is something like a whatsapp.com. So how we can build that, how we can build the application, or how we can build
So Hari Krishna, once the DevOps engineer comes in picture, so the operational team will not be there, or DevOps engineer will fill the gap between the developer and the operation team.
Yes,
How
yes,
is it?
yes. So we don't want to involve the operations team to deploy the applications, right? So something like in before a cloud, something like operation engineers are there, right? A Linux engineer or something like. So what is the data? Something like a data center environment provides only IaaS, infra as a service. Something like a physical environment they provides, but comes into the picture a cloud, a DevOps, something like a cloud, AWS provide something like a application like a Facebook. So how we can connect the instance, we can get the instance within the 5 minutes or something like. So how we can achieve? So the cloud providers, whatever the cloud providers, GCP, AWS, Azure, something like a Oracle, Alibaba, IBM, these are the some cloud services are there. So what are those services? IaaS, SaaS, PaaS. So IaaS means infra as a services. Oh, the data center only provides the infra as a services, but in the cloud they provide IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. IaaS, SaaS, and PaaS, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So in the data center, if something like I have a thoughts like a web WhatsApp.com app. So I don't want infra, I don't want to platform. I am a developer. I have a thought. I need to create a web application, WhatsApp. I want to test it on the servers. So how we can achieve something like a DevOps, a cloud environment provides a something like a pay as you go model and a pay. So whatever you use, you can pay it. Something like initially I have a thought, something like I don't want to involve a operational engineer. I don't want to involve something like operational engineer to deploy our servers and to install the Java Tomcat. So what AWS provides? So IaaS and SaaS, IaaS, PaaS. I want a PaaS environment. Something like we want a infra and something like a Java and Tomcats. They will provide it. So I have a code, something like a WhatsApp code. I can deploy that code into the something like a cloud environment. Here we need a Linux engineer or not? Who is asking? Sorry. So who is asking the doubt? Something like Ajay or Aniket?
Yeah, sorry, I was there.
Yeah, Ankit was asking.
Yeah.
Ankit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ankit. So now you understand, right? So
Yes,
in
yes.
AWS environment, we need an operation engineer or not?
Yep.
We don't need,
We need.
we don't
We
need
need.
because of AWS is providing PaaS, right?
Okay, this is for the deployment, right?
Yes.
Once the application is deployed, for further modification, like to provision, like to provide access to something or some application, or if it is deployed in the cluster, then to provide access to that application by namespace. So we'll need operation team as well, right?
Yes, operation team, but something like initial 5 years or 10 years back, so we need five to something like a team of 5 members or 7 members. So in DevOps, so Terraform is the something like a Terraform is the tool. Terraform is the tool. So the tool works as a infra as a code. So who operational engineer doing something like we need to build the infra and we need to give it to the developers to deploy the code, right? So a tool comes into the picture. Terraform is a tool that is IAC infra as a code. In the Terraform, so infra as a code. So we need a something like an environment like a apps and database servers. So we can use that Terraform, and we can in the one click we can deploy our environment. We can deploy our environment. A DevOps guy also, in the DevOps tool, a Terraform is the tool to provision or to build the environment. Right? So here, so something like the manpower, why automation comes into the picture, something like so if you do the something like a deploy application, something like a webfly or a Facebook application. So deployed something like a Linux engineer, something like he forgot to start the web server. So then that time, if the Facebook is working or not, doesn't work, right? So if you use a script to deploy application by using the automation tool, so it is something like a computer. It isn't something like a human error. Human can do mistakes, but computer do mistakes. So we can schedule a time and we can deploy the application. So it automatically deploy and we can start the application. Something like, so why DevOps came, something like we need to reduce the manpower. We need to we need to raise the something like a cost optimization. So the purpose we are using the DevOps, right, Aniket?
Yes.
Right.
Got it. Thanks.
Something like I have a thought, something like I want to create a one app application that is for a web WhatsApp. So what are the requirements? SDLC. SDLC means software development life cycle. So in the software development life cycle, the waterfall model. What is the waterfall model? In the waterfall model, what are the stages? So analysis, plan, design, build, test, and deploy. So what is analysis, plan, design, build, test, deploy? Who will build the code? Something like a developer develop the code. So who will test the code? So we will test the application. Testers. Testers means QA people test the application. Who will deploy our application? Operations team, Windows team, or a Linux team. So they deploy the application. So this is the waterfall model. And so the plan, something like the process is sequential, one by one we can achieve. So if you want to apply, if you want to create a one website that is for WhatsApp, so we can how much time it will be taking to achieve that? 2 to 6 months. So in the agile model, we have a number of tools are there. So we have a number of tools. So in the tools, so something like analyze, plan. So analyze, plan, deploy will be the same, but design, build, test. Design means something like so design means how we can something like I have a WhatsApp. Initially, I have a WhatsApp for a chat and a content. So in that there are design. So in the build code. So something like a build, we can build the code and we can test. If it is any bugs, again we can design and build and test until it's success. Until it's success. It will be something like a 3 iterations model. It will be a 3 iterations model. In that 3 iterations, if you have a bugs, it automatically rectify. That is the agile methodology. So that is the methodology. So before agile methodology, something like a limitations of waterfall model. No working software is produced until late during the life cycle. Once an application is in the testing stage, it is very difficult to go back and change something that was not well throughout in the concept stage. I already told you, right? So something like in the build, something like in the test stage. So something like if you have a bug, so it is not something like so if we want to go back and again we can build and we can so we can test it. So here, so we can test it and we can build it in the iterations and we can achieve that. We can achieve it. So if you have something like a 3 types of iterations, so it will achieve automatically. And the waterfall model, high risk amount of risk and uncertainty. So not a good model for complex and object oriented projects. So waterfall model is a manual process. So it is not a good model for complex and object oriented projects. So and not suitable for the projects where the requirements are at the moderate to high risk of the changing. So in the what is agile methodology? So in the agile methodology, each project is broken up into several iterations. So in the waterfall model, there is no iterations. So in the agile methodology, each project is broken up into several iterations. So all the iterations should be the same time duration. So between 2 to 8 weeks. So in the waterfall methodology, something like we need to how much time it will need to achieve, something like 2 to 6 months. In the agile methodology, so it will achieve 2 to 8 weeks. At the end of the each iteration, a working product should be delivered. So limitations of agile, something like code works fine in my laptop. So developers wants to change in the operations team. There is some problem with the code. It does not work in the production. In the development team works fine, but in the operations team, it should not work. So something like wants to change, wants to stability. So that time DevOps, a solution is DevOps. A DevOps is comes into the picture. So DevOps is not a tool. So DevOps is a methodology or a DevOps is a culture. So DevOps is a methodology, a culture. So how we can achieve something like we want to change, we want to stability. How we can achieve? So we can achieve through the tools, automation tools, something like in the development stage. So we have some tools. In the operation side, we have some tools. So we can work together and automate the process. We can work together and automate the process, and so we can get the stability. We can get the stability. A development team and operations team work together and get the stability. So what are the tools? So we can use in the DevOps. What are the tools? So we can use in the DevOps. Something like I already told you, right? So something like in the manual waterfall, the waterfall model we are using. Guys, please mute yourself. In the waterfall methodology, in the waterfall method, something like, so everything will be manual. So developer develop the code and build the code. So that is nothing but a integration. And operations team deploy the code. There is no CI/CD. Everything will be manual. So a DevOps comes into the picture. A CI/CD model, something like Agile is the CI/CD model. Continuous integration and continuous deployment or continuous delivery model. So what are the parts in the CI? What are the parts in the CI? What are the parts in the deployment? Something like we already see, right, in the integration, something like a Git is there. Git is the tool. Git is the repository. So developer develop the code and push it to the Git repository. So once got that code, so Maven is the tool. Maven is the deployment tool, build tool. So we can build the .java to .var. So Maven is the tool, or Ant is the tool. So same like as a Git subversion. These are the two tools for source code management tools. So Maven is the tool to build the var file. Same like as a plan, code, build, and test. This is the part of CI. This is the part of CI. Plan, code, build, test. So the only deployment, operate, monitor is nothing but a CD. Deployment, operate, monitor is nothing but a CD part. In the CI part, something like a, so developer develop the code and push it to the GitHub, something like a GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket. So it will take that. Jenkins is the tool for the CI/CD. So what is the tools? Jenkins, Bamboo, Hudson. So these two are the tools. So CI/CD tools. So we can use the Jenkins tool and we can integrate something like we can install the plugins. So in the Jenkins, we can install the Git plugin and Maven plugin, Jira. These are all are the plugins. So we can install and we can get the connectivity from the Git, and once we can get the code, then we can take the Maven build the code, and something like texting. What are the testing tools? Something like Giant is the testing tool to automate to verify the something like application is working fine or not. Something like a Sonar is the Sonar Cube. Sonar Cube is the tool. So we can verify the code, something like if the code is good or not, is there any bugs or is there any errors in the code. So it will automatically verify in the something like Sonar Cube is the tool. You can use that Sonar Cube and we can get the errors, we can get the bugs in the code. So this CI part, so these are the tools we are using. In the CD part, so where we can deploy our application, on the
Smart beer also come under this process.
What is
Smart beer?
Yes.
Okay.
So in the deployment, how we can deploy something like where we can deploy our application, so we can deploy our application on the server, either instance or a server or a container. So Docker is the tool. So we can something like we can build that code and we can deploy it on the Docker container. So where we can deploy our application in the Docker container. So something like how we can So how we can do it? By using the Ansible. Ansible is the configuration management tool. So configuration management, how we can create the, how we can provision the Dockers by using the Terraform. Terraform is the tool, IAC tool. We can provision our infra in the, our infra into something like a Docker or something like that. So same like as a operate, how we can operate or how we can monitor, something like how we can monitor our servers in AWS. So we can use CloudWatch. So we can, so something like how we can monitor our servers, something like a, so those are the physical hardwares, right? So it will be crash, or it will be something like our Tomcat web server is something like down. So where we can monitor, in the monitoring tool, we can monitor the servers. So where we can monitor the logs, how we can monitor the logs, application logs. So we can monitor the application logs in the ELK, something like ELK. ELK is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Logstash and Kibana. So before Agile model, there is a waterfall model. In the waterfall method, only so integration and deployment. Only integration and deployment. So who will do the integration? So a developer develop the code and build the WAR file. So who will deploy the code? Something like a Linux engineer operations team. So in the Agile model, so we have a CI/CD environment. CI/CD environments, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So before, in the waterfall model, there is no CI/CD. So there is no CI/CD. So in the Agile methodology, we have a CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment. So I want to deploy something like I want to deploy a new feature. For example, initially WhatsApp starts something like a chat and chat, right? Only chat, right? So after that, they are introduced a video calling, audio calling, something like voice calling, video calling, something like group chatting, something like group calling. So they are introduced one by one, right? So how we can achieve? So I want to introduce a new feature within the 2 weeks or 3 weeks. How we can achieve? We can achieve through CI/CD. So if you go through a manual process, it will be taking 2 to 3 months. It will be taking 2 to 3 months. So if you use the tools, so it will achieve 2 to 8 weeks. 2 to 8 weeks. How we can achieve? Something like all we have a automation tool. So it automatically get the code, it automatically build the code, it automatically deploy the code. So we will automatically deploy the code. There is no manual intervention. There is no manual intervention to deploy our application. Guys, now you understand, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Any doubts? Something like
Hari, something like who set the rules for smart mirrors, sonar cubes? Who set the rules, or depend upon the code, or who set the rule?
Yeah, something like so we can first so in the sonar cube, so we can configure the whatever we want. Something like we are creating a Java code and we are deploying it in the something like Tomcat. So in that Java, the sonar cube, they configure a Java. This is the Java code. So we need to analyze that code. So we need to analyze that code. So here you can see.
Okay, and one more thing.
Yeah.
What is use of Linux on here?
What is the?
Linux.
Yeah, where we can deploy our application. So Docker is a container.
Okay.
So where we can deploy, where we can start our Docker container.
So how much we required knowledge of Linux about if we will do the DevOps?
Actually, everything will something like so the thought of AWS cloud comes. So there is no something like a Linux is a open source, right? And Linux is a CLI mode. So command line interface. So the OS of the Linux is something like a 8 GB of space. We can install the OS 8 GB of space. So something like everyone understand, everyone imagine that Linux and then create the environment, something like how AWS comes into the picture. Initially they take the Linux image. They take the Linux image and they develop the application. They develop the AWS application. So everywhere, something like in Maven, something like in Git also. So Git also having a Linux commands. So
Mhm.
something like this is the CI/CD. CI/CD means pipelines. How we can create the pipelines with the help of commands, Linux
Okay.
commands.
How
So
much you will cover under this course for the Linux and other tools?
yeah,
Because I see the only 40 hours courses, and is this it will cover under 40 means in 40
yeah,
hours sessions?
yeah, definitely we will cover. So we will you will understand the middle. So how you can manage that Linux. Definitely you can manage.
Mhm.
Okay,
Okay.
something like, so the initial fast RHCSA, and I will cover something like how we can install the web services like Apache Tomcat, how we can install the packages. I will tell you something like a middle range, not a initial range. So not a expert, not a something like a beginner. So definitely something like a intermediate level, you can get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everywhere we need to run the CI/CD pipeline. We need a Linux. So we need to install the Git. We need to run the Git. We need to push the code. We need to commit the code. So we at least we need a Linux commands. So how we can copy the commands? How we can something like how we can edit the file? So how we can something like install the packages? How we can remove the packages? How we can copy? How we can remove? How we can create something like how we can copy the file from one server to another server? So you will get the a middle of something like a middle intermediate level, you can get it.
Hi Hari, Ajay here.
Yeah, Ajay, tell me.
Yeah, I have one doubt,
Yeah.
and before proceeding, even ask. So they told me to that you can ask very much in a demo session.
Yeah.
I'm in IT, almost 8 years of experience. That is Windows and VMware. Even I know
Okay.
the basics of cloud, and I'm GCP certified
Okay.
associate. But I don't know even the basics of scripting and programming.
Okay.
Okay, so is this something we required knowledge of programming and scripting? Because
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
my friend is working in Accenture.
Mm-hmm.
It told that you might require like any scripting knowledge. It can be Java or Python or Shell scripting.
So
So
that is not a good good convey something like Ajay.
okay,
So something like a programming language is nothing but a C, C++, Java, or something like a whoops concept, right? So we
okay, yeah,
need a something like that they are designed something like if it there's something like a program. So we need a function, we need a open and close braces, we need something like a syntax. So we need a syntax to write the programs, right? So developers develop the code with the help of syntax. So, but in the Terraform, Ansible, this is not a programming language. This is not a structured programming language. So this is a language, but so layman language. So so what is the programming language? What is the layman language? So layman language is nothing but so everyone can understand that program. Everyone can understand the languages. Right. So Ansible is using AML, something like how we can define something like a module basis, something like so how we can write in English, something like a one paragraph.
got it.
The
It
same
means
way you
it's
can,
not compulsory, it's not required.
yeah, it's not required to learn a Java or a .NET or a C or C++. So they are the programming, a structured query languages. Those are the something like the syntax based languages. So here Terraform, something like a Ansible, everything, scripting language, something like a AML or a Terraform languages. So the layman languages. Now you understand, I got the point, right? Layman languages. We do not follow the structures, we do not follow the functions, we do not follow the braces. How we can write in English? So we can write the same AML, something like Terraform, same like as. So these are the layman languages.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
Got it, right?
yeah.
Guys, any doubts?
No, actually, there's a mentioned number of tools, but that's why just how it complete and how we will do the practice for it. That
Yeah,
is
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I will tell you everything. How we can install, how we can deploy, how we can something like how we can write the scripting language. Definitely, I will tell you with the easy manner. Okay.
oh, yeah.
So I will tell you within the easy manner. Definitely you can understand easily here. So this is the simple course. You can learn easily. I'm saying.
Okay, once we learn, like complete the course, so are we assigned any project so we can go through that, so we can
Yeah, definitely I will show you. So I'm a something like I already told you, right? I am a solution architect and I am a senior DevOps engineer. So definitely I will show you my environment, and I am also working on something like a freelance, some project. Definitely I will show you.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. So in the course also, definitely every day I will show you how the real time works.
Okay. Thank you.
You understand, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Understood.
Guys, any doubts?
No, continue.
Yeah. Something like a DevOps stages are something like a 4 stages. So something like a source code management. What is the source code management? So version control. Git is the source code management. So maintain the different versions of the code. So what is the second process? So continuous integration. Continue in the continuous integration, something like a build. So build the code. So here Git, the code, the repository, Git repository having the code. Here building the code, something like a compile the code by using the Sonar Cube, validate the code by using the Spark, something like a code review, something like a unit testing, integration testing. Everything will be done through automation. Everything will be done through automation. So third is nothing but a continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is nothing but a deploying the build application. Whatever the application build here, something like a .var, .jar, so it will build on the test servers. So performing UAT. UAT means user acceptance test, continuous testing. So what we can achieve? So here continuous writing the code, continuous compiling and continuous validating, continuous some code review, continuous unit testing, and continuous integration testing. So this is the continuous building and continuous testing. Once we build we can deploy the application into the servers. It automatically test the application by using the JUnit or something like. So the fourth stage is continuous deployment. So configuration management and containerization. Configuration management and containerization. We can deploy our application in the containerization. So containerization, something like continuous deploying the tested application on the prod servers. Deploying tested application on the prod server. So something like after that continuous monitoring. Continuous monitoring is so ELK and Nagios. So ELK and Nagios. So these are the DevOps stages. These are the DevOps stages. So continuous source code management, continuous integration, continuous delivery, and continuous deployment, continuous monitoring. Source code management. Source code management is something like a Git. Git works as a distributed version control system. The management of changes to the documents or a computer programs or a large website and other collection of information. So developers develop the code and push it into the repository. What is that repository? GitLab, GitHub, or Bitbucket. So something like a developer workstation, we can copy, commit, and push it to the repository. So developer commit, push to the repository. So this is the source code management tool. Git is the source code management tool. Something like how we can achieve source code management. Something like a git add, git commit, git checkout, git merge, git push, git pull. These all are the Linux commands. So who asked something like Aniket, right? So these all are the Linux commands. So everywhere, if you learn the Linux, so you can survive anywhere, something like either Google, either GCP, either Azure, either AWS, or either something like a IBM Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle, whatever it may be. So the basic funda is first you need to learn the Linux. Then only you can understand anything.
So,
okay, guys?
So you will cover first Linux and then AWS and then other.
Yes. First, I will cover something like how the environment is, how the production environment, something like what are the environments are there. First, we need to tell what is OS. Definitely, you understand what is OS. Something like, guys, tell me what is OS.
This is the operating
Anyone?
system.
So I'm not asking about abbreviation. I'm asking the meaning. Operating system means OS means operating system. I'm asking about meaning.
It is interface between computer and user.
It is interface between
User and computer.
Yes, very good. So it is the interface or a mediator between the user and computer. Computer knows which language? Computer knows which language? Computer knows, guys, which language? User knows which language?
Okay.
Guys, computer knows which language? Does anyone knows?
Linux.
No, computer understand like binary language.
Yes,
0
very
and
good,
1.
very good, very good. Who?
Ajay Kushwaha.
Ajay, very good, Ajay. So computer knows something like, for example, your mobile phone. So something like Ajay, what is your mobile phone? Which hardware you are using? Your mobile hardware? Which phone you are using?
Samsung.
Samsung. Samsung is the who designed the hardware? Samsung.
Yeah.
So in the Samsung hardware, so what is the OS? Something like Samsung is installed
On Android platform.
Android OS. Android OS is the OS. So why we are installing a OS on our hardware? So because of hardware doesn't know high level language. Means hardware knows only, your mobile phone only knows binary
Low
language,
level.
right?
Yeah.
So user means Ajay, something like a end user, myself, you, everyone, Kiran, something like. So everyone knows high level language. High level means, so we are speaking with English, right? So English, we know English. So computer knows binary zeros and ones. User knows high level language means English. So you cannot communicate directly. You cannot communicate with the hardware, right? You cannot communicate with the hardware. For example, so Ajay knows something like a Hindi. So myself knows Telugu. So myself knows Telugu. So Ajay doesn't know English. Myself doesn't know English. So how we can communicate? How we can communicate, Ajay?
We need someone like a tool like that used to like fill the gap, like some that understand both language, like
Something like, for example, Aniket. So
yeah.
Aniket knows Hindi and
Both.
Telugu.
Yes.
So Aniket knows Hindi and Telugu. So something like Aniket knows Hindi and Telugu. So you and myself, we cannot communicate directly. So with the help of Aniket knows both the languages. Aniket knows both the languages. Aniket is the mediator. Aniket is the mediator, something like whatever I want to convey to you, I told to Aniket something like like as a Telugu, and Aniket convert that Telugu into the Hindi, and he tells to you with the language, with the help, with the Hindi, right? So same like you inform to something like a lake Hindi, and Aniket converts to the Telugu, and he tells to me in the Telugu, right? Who is mediator? Aniket is the mediator. Aniket knows both the languages, like Android OS knows both the languages. Something like binary language knows and high level language knows. So whatever the user, so something like in your mobile, you something like you say you are interacting with one app. Something like you open that WhatsApp app. So WhatsApp app doesn't know something like doesn't know hardware. So OS So you can hit the OS interact with, and they can convert into the binary and binary. So then we can open the WhatsApp, right?
Yes.
So OS is nothing but a mediator between user and computer. OS knows both the language. OS knows both the language. Whatever the high level language we give into OS converts into the binary and give it to the hardware. Then hardware give it to the OS, the binary language, and they convert into the decimal. Decimal means high level language. OS is a mediator, or OS is a interpreter. Interface. OS is interface between user and computer, right? So in our mobile, so there is no Android OS. You can communicate with the hardware. No, right? So the same way. So in the hardware, something like a OS. So in the hardware, we need to install the OS. Something like in our router. So how you are modifying your Wi-Fi username and password. So router is a hardware, right, Ajay?
Yes, router is it's a networking device. Yeah.
Networking is something like a hardware.
Yeah,
So
it's
how you can interact with the hardware?
iOS through the iOS. Yeah.
Yeah. So we are so everywhere. So if you are connecting any hardware, if you are connecting any hardware, something like a video games, everything. So if you are interacting with the hardware, definitely in the hardware having a OS, then only you are interacting with that hardware. You are interacting with that hardware, either mobile phone or either laptop or either hardware devices, a router, a network devices, or something like a mobile game, video games, everything. So if you are interacting with that hardware, definitely it will be a OS. It will be a OS, then only we can interact. Now you guys understand, right? Ajay?
Yeah, understand, very much understand.
Yeah. So I will tell you, so something like what is OS, and something like what are the types of OSs, something like a single user operating system and multi-user operating system. So in our laptop, we are using single user operating system. So what are the operating systems are there, and who are providing the operating system? What are the open source? What are the commercial? What is CLI? What is GUI? So what are the hardwares they are providing for single user and multi-user? What are the OSs they are providing for single user operating system and multi-user operating system? And what are the environments are we are something like, for example, something like a pulsar bike. So they are in the showroom. We have a pulsar bike. So before production into the something like before showroom, before we can get into the showroom, so it will be developed and it will be tested, then only it will be showed in the, it will be something like it will be showed in the showroom, right? So before that we have a something like a testing environment is there. So before that testing environment, the development environment is there, something like a car. So anything. So if you buy anything, so in the real time, so before that they are testing, before that they are developing, before that they are analysis. So we have environments are there, non-production, production, and DR. So in the course, I will tell you everything. How the something like a company, how they operate the operations, something like how they operate the servers and how deploy the servers. So we can tell you everything. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So one more thing. So you are going to you are going to train us about all the tools like what Ansible, Git, Bitbucket, like
Yes.
Docker, Kubernetes, and this all. Okay. So you are the only trainer for this entire course. Okay.
Yes.
So what is the duration for this entire course?
So actually, so it's a minimum is 45 days we need. So it will be, so we don't know, it will be prolonged or something like 5 to 10 days.
Okay.
It will cover under 45 days.
45 days. Okay. So 45 days and per day, like
Per
1.5
day.
hour.
So yeah. So based on something like a, so today we need something like 1.5 hour. We can interact with the session with 1.5 hour, or also something like so in the Git we have we tell something like a Git add, Git commit, Git checkout, and Git merge. So we need to tell Git push and Git pull.
Okay.
So then that time we need to extend. so another half an hour
Okay. Okay.
until it will complete.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely, you will understand how it works. Something like what is DevOps, what is Linux, what is AWS.
Okay. Yeah.
So I
So
will
you
show
will
you a
cover
minute.
also AWS cloud platform also. in
Yes,
this.
yes, I will cover everything. AWS,
Okay. Yeah.
Linux, and DevOps.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the continuous integration in the Jenkins is the CI/CD tool. So developers develop that code and commit into the repository. So this is the Git repository. So in the CI/CD Jenkins server, this is the Jenkins server. So created a pipeline to interact with the Git automatically. If any something like if you get any code, any new code from the repository, Jenkins server automatically picks that code and build that code review, something like compile, code review, testing, and integration testing. So they will build the WAR files. So this is nothing but a CI. This is nothing but a CI part, continuous integration part. So what is the continuous delivery part? Something like, so once we get the code, we get the code and build the code, something like compile, code review, unit testing, and integration testing. So build the WAR file. So it automatically deploy with the help of pipelines. It automatically deploy the build application on the test server for UAT. Then we can do the, with the help of something like, we can get the approval from the change management team, and we can deploy it on the production environment. Something like a staging, integration, production. So configuration management, something like in the servers, we need to install Java on 100 servers. So we need to do the voice patching on 1,000 servers. How we can do it? So with the help of Ansible, so we can run the playbook on 100 servers or 1,000 servers. It will automatically install or automatically doing the OS patching. So that is the Ansible. So before Ansible, it will be Chef. So Ansible is a agentless configuration management tool. Chef is a agent-based configuration management tool. Something no, so we need to, so if you want to install a Java on a particular server, so we need a agent, Chef agent on. So how we can communicate? By using the agent plugin. So for Ansible, there is no need to run the Ansible plugin. So it is a agentless protocol. So we can communicate with through SSH, passwordless authentication, and we can install the Java, Tomcat, whatever it may be. So this is the configuration management tool. So Ansible is the configuration management tool. And containerization. So containerization is nothing but a Docker, something like, so initially the first term is physical server. So then the virtualization. So the big impact is, so virtualization. We can install the VMware or whatever may be. So we can free up the resources and we can install the OSs whatever we want. So what are the resources we have? We can install that OSs. So something like this is a something like a 512 RAM or 500 GB hard disk. This is the big server. So see, this is something like a 2 GB or 3 GB or 20 GB hard disk. So I want to deploy application with the image, with the image. So only 300 MB. So the big innovative thought, so physical to virtualization. So virtualization to containerization. So containerization with the help of image, something like a OS, and our package var file. So something like a .jar or .jar. So we can combine together, and so we can build the image with something like a 300 or 400 MB. So it combine into microservices. We can deploy into the containerization. So this is the Docker engine. In the Docker engine, we can deploy our containers. So this is the Docker continuous monitoring. So we can use the Nagios is the continuous monitoring tool. So we can tell the Linux fundamental and scripting benefits. And in the AWS also. So what is AWS? So what are the services are there in the AWS cloud history? So the cloud number fact. So what is the leader in the market? So AWS is the leader market, then Azure, then Google. So these are the challengers. Oracle, Alibaba Cloud, and IBM are the challenges. So AWS uses McDonald's, 21st Century Fox, Activision, Netflix. So how AWS comes into the picture, something like a region-based availability zones and a data centers. So I will tell you everything. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, Hari,